How y'all doing? Hey! Hi, Damien.
All right, welcome everybody. My name is David and I am the Director of Education here at Signature Theater. Welcome to all of my friends here in person and to all of our friends at home joining us via YouTube. Pretty simple format for today. In a moment I'll introduce our guest to all of you, but we want to keep this casual. I'm going to ask, I got a whole lot of questions prepared, but I don't want this to be all about me. If you have a question, just raise your hand if you're here in person and we'll call on you. If you are at home, send your questions in through the chat and James will flag me down to let me know that you've asked a question, and I'll repeat it so that everybody at home can hear the question that was asked also. We have a couple of things going on here at Signature. We are going to be talking a lot about the color purple today. Who here in person has seen our color purple so far? So most, but not all. Great. It's an unbelievably powerful production. It's just beautiful. I hope that all of you have a chance to come see it. It closes October 9th. We're now just a couple days into previews for No Place to Go in the Ark. Wonderful, quirky, funny musical starring Bobby Smith, and that goes through October 16th. Make sure you head out to see that as well. Next month's Inside Signature will be about No Place to Go. We'll be meeting with two of the writers, Ethan Lipton and Ian M. Riggs, to talk about the creation of this very unique musical. So those are a couple of things that are coming down the pike. Today, though, we have with us Danielle J Summons.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Blessed.
I'm so glad to have you with us today. So we were talking a little bit backstage. You were born here in D.C., yeah?
Yeah. Born in D.C., raised in Bowie, Maryland area, and then moved to North Carolina around 2000 in Raleigh, North Carolina. So that's where my formative years, middle school, high school, and then I moved to New York for college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you are a musical theater actor now?
Yes.
How did that all come to be? How did you find this love of yours, and tell us your musical theater story.
Yeah, so I mean, I always love to sing. My godmother is here.
Hi.
So, you know, she's just, they were all used to hearing me sing. I kind of sang before I even spoke, according to my parents. So yeah, I started to study classical music, and I thought I wanted to be an opera singer. And I started going to musical theater intensive programs at Northwestern University, North Carolina School of the Arts, and it was fun and I learned a lot, but I was like, I don't want to get up every day and sing a high C every day. Like, that is just not the life I want to live. But I'm thankful for that training and the technique that I learned. But I actually came to a musical theater intensive here at University of Maryland, College Park, with Scott Reese. And that's, yes, he's amazing. And that's where I found my true love. And I felt like this is a perfect combination of singing with technique and telling a beautiful story. And I just started looking at people like Audra McDonald and Montego Glover and just seeing these amazing careers. I just wanted to be like that. So
I love it.
I started to forge my path.
Beautiful. And you said you went to school in New York?
Yes.
For musical theater?
Yeah, for music.
Okay.
So I majored in music at Manhattanville College in Purchase, New York, with a concentration in musical theater.
That's great. And it's not an easy business to be in.
And especially not after these past 2.5, 3 years, and even what we're all still experiencing. So.
Yeah. So you've got an audience mostly of non-actors. What do you want these non-actorly folks to, what do you wish they knew about the actor's life and work that they don't maybe know?
That it's a constant grind. It's like, even while I'm in this show, I'm trying to find the perfect balance of being present, but also knowing that I need to book something else for when this is over. One, because I want to do amazing work that's meaningful, but two, I also need to take care of myself, just being realistic financially. And also that we have to be flexible. We have to be able to adjust and pivot at any time. So there's been times where I've worked 3 and 4 jobs in New York. And there's been times when I've been able to just focus just on the gig. I'm prayerful that those times of working the 3, 4 jobs are over, or having to, really ask for help. But all in all, it's just a journey. And so I appreciate those that have patience and grace for us and understanding, and don't just assume like, hey, you need to call Tyler Perry, or you need to, call someone. A lot of folks who aren't, in the industry will just assume that it's so easy that you can just call someone or email or write them on social media, and that everything is just going to change. It's like, I wish, because if it worked like that, then I would not be doing some of the things that I am doing, right?
Have you had any particularly memorable day jobs or ones that you're like, oh, or ones you wish were not so memorable?
Well, I like to think that I make the best.
Okay.
At least I try to.
Great.
And I have friends in my life who will remind me when I'm not making the best out of a situation. But there was a time when I was spraying shoes at Lucky Strike. I was dressing up as Princess Tiana on the weekend for parties for little kids, and I was also walking dogs all at the same time.
And auditioning.
And auditioning and trying to be social. Like young in New York, you still want to be able to, go have a drink or brunch with friends. So it was all a lot.
Jeez.
But it's definitely memorable, and I have skills that I can now add to the bottom of my resume. Special skills, dog handler. Maybe I'll have to do that in a movie, or something one day.
Right. So given how hard this industry can be, what are your survival techniques? What do you do to keep yourself centered and surviving this industry?
Well, I'll say the second one first is my support system. Like my godmother, I have 2 friends here as well, Taylor and Damien.
Wonderful.
Just people who sometimes you just have to text or call and just say, like, I do not feel good about myself, and I need to. And can you say something good about me? Can you remind me of my worth? And so it's really important to have folks like that in your corner who truly believe in your work, but also can be honest with you. Like, hey, it's okay to go back to that job in the meantime. This is a minor setback for a major comeback. But all in all, my faith, my belief in God, my belief that there's a calling on my life and that all of these things are already ordained, and that if I surrender to what's in front of me and do the work, that there's no way that I can miss. Yeah. So that is truly what has kept me, especially over these last 2.5, 3 years.
That's great. Thank you. Any questions from our audience so far? Yes, please.
An audience member, but I know young people who are recently graduated and gotten their degrees in musical theater, have a little bit of background in actually performing and even performing professionally, some of them. At what point do you absolutely have to have an agent, somebody who is, out there looking for those auditions to send you on? Or do you do all of that on your own, or is it a combination?
So for our friends at home, I'll repeat the question. It was just asked in regards to young people finishing school, heading into this performing arts industry. What point do you get an agent? Do you need one? When do you need one? Let's talk agents and advice for that for a moment.
Having an agent is like dating, like being in a relationship. You can think that you found the right agent and your communication skills are off and it just doesn't work. I think that every performer is different. I have some friends who have booked on their own and been able to keep that extra 10% in their pocket. I have some friends who were able to get agents right out of college immediately. So for me, I would just say the minute that you start to feel that in your stomach, like I need help, I need someone to support me a little bit more, that's the time to start looking, going to workshops. But you should already know, I think there should already be a list of agencies that you're interested in. That you see the roster and you're like, I like these 3 or 4 performers. I'm gonna keep an eye out for the things that they do, the shows that they're a part of. Just the same way you should do with shows. You should know what kind of shows that you may be potentially interested in. But I think in the pit of your stomach, if you're getting exhausted from showing up at 5 a.m. before the doors have even opened and waiting for 3 hours to maybe get seen, then that's the moment when you should start, looking for further assistance. But again, it's subjective. It's all different. Like I said, this is my 3rd agency and the best one that I've had so far. I'm signed with DGRW, and my senior agent, Matt Redman, is just brilliant. But it took so much time to find this agency, and it took me having those bad relationships to know how amazing and how great this relationship with my agency currently is.
That's great. Got a question from online.
So we have a lot of great questions,
Great.
actually, but I'll start with one.
Okay.
This is from Belle Davis. How did you get to Signature?
How did I get to Signature? A blessing. Literally, I was doing Sister Act in Rochester, and I believe someone else had, the role of Shug Avery, and had got another amazing opportunity and decided to part ways. So they started looking and sending out audition information. My agent sent it to me, and virtually I started auditioning with Timothy and Mark and Lady Dane, and booked the job with them virtually over a few sessions. And I cannot say how amazing being here at Signature has been. Like, everything is special, which I like. I like things to be special, it's big or small. You know, treating me well. The cast is elite. Every single person in this cast works hard. The talent is there. So I feel blessed to be here. So again, I think it's a blessing that was meant to come my way, and I'm just so happy, and I'm trying just to do my best to fully receive every part of it.
It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
This next question is, what is your favorite part about playing Shug Avery, and how were you able to find the voice of Shug?
So I'll say this, I grew up watching The Color Purple and then having to read the novel later on in school. But I literally call my mother Shug. And I've been calling her Shug since I was in middle school because of this, all of the isms of Shug Avery and just the funny little moments from the movie. So to be actually playing Shug Avery is a full circle moment with that alone. Finding Shug, getting out of my own way, because I began to get a little intimidated by all the other Shugs that have come before me, the Heather Headleys, Jennifer Hudson, or the OG Margaret Avery that we saw in the movie. And I was trying to see what they did, and I just had to say, let me sit with the text and tell my truth through it. And then with the wonderful guidance and direction of Timothy Douglas, I think that's how I found her. And I'm still finding her. There's still moments on stage where I do something and I'm like, ooh, that didn't really work. Or I do something and it felt really amazing and I felt rooted and grounded in the truth. So let me keep that and try to do that next and expound upon that. So.
Do you see much of yourself in Shug?
I think that Shug was ahead of her time,
Yeah.
you know, just even being sexually liberated. I feel like we're just starting to have those conversations now within the last 5 to 7 years, and how that doesn't define you. There's no label that needs to be put on feeling sexually liberated, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're promiscuous or that you're any of those things. So I just think in terms of just being ahead of her time, I like to think that I'm a little bit of an old soul, and so those parts, but just also being outspoken and free. I've always been really free. My godmother can tell you that I've just always wanted to be received for who I am, and to play a character who is unapologetic in who she is in every single way it's a joy.
Yeah.
And it's a little intimidating sometimes. I'm like, I really get to do this, you know, every night. So
Everybody loves Shug. That's what she says in the show,
everybody
right?
loves Shug.
That's great. Barbara, and then we'll go back to James. Yeah.
Hi,
I
Barbara.
really have a question, but I want to make a comment, and that is that you're the best Shug I've ever seen.
And for our friends at home, Barbara just paid a high compliment saying that she is the best Shug she's ever seen.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you.
Really, that means a lot. Thank you so much, Barbara.
James?
Yeah, lots.
Great.
This is from Jeffrey. I'm not going to judge the question, but it's what music do you listen to
Okay.
outside of the show?
I love to listen to Frankie Beverly and Maze. I mean, most of my playlists are music from like the 50s to the 70s. My dad's a jazz musician. My mom loves music. So I just grew up listening to the greats, Donny Hathaway, Roberta Flack. I am listening to Beyonce. It's her newest album right now that has me in a chokehold. I can't stop listening to it. But yeah, just literally music from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. I don't know, it just feels very real and honest. It makes me feel good. And so those are things I listen to before the show.
Love it. Awesome. Any other? Yeah, James, go for it.
So this is from Ira. She asked, can you talk about being in a show during not quite over COVID times?
Yeah.
Dealing with protocols, understudies, etc.
What-
Social life.
What does it mean to be in a show in 2022?
A lot of testing. We test regularly. The first show, not first, but Sister Act, we tested twice a week. Here we test once a week. Being cautious, like, you know, it's the balance of living your life, you know, going maybe having a drink or hanging out with a friend after the show, but also being mindful that there's a potential risk, you know, of doing that and not being able to do the show. Thankfully, here we have wonderful understudies, so if anything like that was to happen, I think we have the proper measures to make sure we can still have a successful show. But I think all of us really are just being cautious around it. And I don't even think about it as much until someone says it, that we are literally living in a very interesting time where you just have to be mindful, and it's not even just about you, it's about being safe for everyone, especially those who have a higher risk of catching COVID.
Great. James, you got any more? Go for it.
I have a lot of nice comments, two people. One, somebody saying that she really is the best Shug I've ever seen, and I've seen
You
the show
guys.
This one's from Akil. Can you speak about the grind of the show and how you take care of your body and voice? How do you deal with the common cold and still have to show up and perform and sing?
Yeah, 8 shows a week is a lot. And I know for me, just in general, coming to the DC area, my allergies got really bad. And I had a sinus infection for the first 2 weeks of the show. So just really just trying to hydrate and to steam, but also to just try to find peace, you know, kind of surrendering to it, because you can really allow yourself to get so anxious and make it even worse than it already is. But I would like to say being able to rely on my technique is a gift and a blessing and a privilege that I'm so glad that I was able to go and study with really great people to help me be able to sing through the gook and the mess, you know, that you sometimes get as a singer. It just is what it is. So yeah, and you know, drinking a lot of water, being mindful of what I eat. You know, I love soul food, but I can't have it and during the week like that. I can't eat that, but like that before shows, or even just thinking about acid reflux, or just all of the things that you don't really think you have to think about until it's time to do 8 shows a week.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, I want to hear a little bit about getting through a show like this 8 times a week from like an emotional, mental, spiritual side. I teach a lot of the high school acting programs here, and anytime they watch a show like this, they come back saying, how does someone do that and get out of it? Can you talk a little bit about how to survive a show like this one?
I think specifically for The Color Purple, having fun backstage, you know, laughing at the mistakes we may have made, the missed cues, the missed lines, and then spending time laughing afterwards, because this show is very heavy. You know, a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse, abandonment, rejection, you name it, is all wrapped into this beautiful story. And it's also a lot of truth in that. Like, a lot of people in the cast can relate to different things that Celie is experiencing in their own way. And so making sure that you're not triggered by it. And if you are triggered by it, how do you release it, you know? So for me, it's definitely having fun. It's taking a minute to just, after it's over, listening to music. It's a lot. I don't have the perfect answer for it. I think I still struggle with it a little bit. I feel like there's some days where I wake up the next day and my shoulders are, you know, all the way near my ears. And I'm like, okay, you have to remember to take a minute, stretch, breathe. I've never done a show this emotional. Les Mis was emotional, but I relate more to this story as a Black woman, and knowing so many people in my life, as well as the things that I've personally experienced that I can relate to when it comes to abandonment and rejection and just that pain, and just knowing that this is a true story, that my ancestors have experienced a lot of this. Wow. So it is really, really heavy, but it's also important. And I have to believe that it was meant for me to be a part of telling this story that'll, one, be healing for some people, but also educate folks who don't know this story and don't know that this is the experience of a lot of Black people then and now. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you. Judith.
Regarding the 8 shows a week, but 5 of them are the weekends.
Yeah.
I do not know how. One of the things I really loved about your performance is you're a great actress and singer, but also a great dancer. And
thank you.
I think it's in the button number where there are 2 times when you are down, and I said, how is she doing that, and how is she getting back up? It's a very wonderful triple threat
Thank you.
So Judith paid another wonderful high compliment, essentially saying that Danielle is a consummate professional and a wonderful triple threat, doing stuff on that stage that we just don't know how you do it. So thank you, Judith.
I'll say I got that honest, the dipping down. I feel like I grew up in that culture of just, having fun and releasing. But doing it 8 times a week, I've had to be like, okay, maybe you should stretch, a little bit more so that you don't have one day where you can't pop back up, Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Dory, please.
I was curious about the rehearsal room. I mean, our rehearsal process is so fast. And can you just talk a little bit about Timothy Douglas some more and what he brought to that room to make you guys put this together quickly and
Yeah, I'm curious about this too. Dory asked about what the rehearsal process was like in working with Timothy. I gotta say, I don't think I've ever felt such good vibes coming out of a rehearsal room. I would love to hear what was going on in that room.
Therapy. It really felt like therapy every day, coming into the rehearsal room. Mark Meadows would be playing something amazing on the piano, and it would be just breathing, walking around the space, taking some time to think about what you're saying. Like Timothy never wanted us to just say the line because it's supposed to be said this way. Why are you saying it this way? And even pushing us sometimes to go be emotional in that space so that we were able to have some sense of control of it on the stage. So very emotional. I feel like we had church a lot, and we really accepted each other for our flaws and our strengths. And it was just a really beautiful experience. And I've never worked with someone who is as beautifully intense. That's the best way I can say it. Beautifully intense as he is, and who really sees me as an actor and a performer. And he saw the moments where I was trying to be like another actor, trying to be what I thought Shug was. He would be like, I want Danielle. Like he was that level of intense. And sometimes when people see you for the first time, it can be jarring and make you want to go back into your shell. But also when you get the moment to embrace it, it's a really beautiful thing. So I really can't call the process anything but challenging, but really beautiful. And I think that's why you all are seeing what you're seeing on that stage, because we've really done the work together. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, Morgan.
Along those lines, can you talk a little bit about being on stage in the rehearsal process, especially with Timothy or Lady Dane, and figuring out the movement on the stage? I was able to sit in for a little bit of a technical rehearsal, got to see some staging between you and Seeley, where you both were seated in the chairs as you're reading the letters and talking to each other, and then more progressed where you were like, let me go down stage here, and Seeley's going to go this way. And my question is, how involved were you able to be in this process with Timothy? Because I feel like sometimes with shows, the actors don't get much say
Right.
Yeah.
in what happens. But I feel like here, it seems like there might have been some great, collaboration between the actors and the director and all of that.
Yeah, so to repeat for our friends at home, we just want to hear a little bit about how you collaborate with the director in this process. How much of it is Timothy? How much is you? Talk about the collaboration aspect of all of this.
Timothy would definitely set, it's called blocking, and Timothy would set where he wanted us to be, right? But he was always open, which is also a privilege and a blessing to have a director who is open to you wanting to change. Or if you say, I don't believe my character would still be sitting still while I'm telling her this. I don't believe she would sit still after we have this beautiful, intimate moment together. I need to get up. There's so much energy happening. I need to move around the stage. And so if you had a point like that, he would say, well, let me see. Make me believe it, And so then you're like, okay. So that's kind of how things work. And even once we got into the theater and started our preview process, there were things that changed. He would say, I saw you do something different. Keep that. Or keep that, but let's do this. Let's tweak it. So it was a very collaborative process. He definitely set the foundation and the tone, and we had a great respect for him and who he is, but also he allowed us to be ourselves in that process as well, which again is very special. That speaks to Timothy and Mark as well as a musical director, allowing us vocally to go where we wanted to go, whether it be a specific type of embellishment in how we're singing something or not, just really giving us the leeway to talk about tempo changes, because all of that stuff is already set and written with the score. So it's been a lot of grace and openness, as long as it's grounded in the truth. That was kind of always the thing. If it's real and it's grounded in the truth, let's try it, let's do it.
That's great. Thank you. Yes.
Talk about your costumes. What about them do you like? How do you relate to them? How do they relate to you?
Talk to us about the costumes of this show.
Yeah, my favorite costume is the Miss Seeley's pants, the jumpsuit.
That's my favorite.
I'm like secretly hoping I can have it afterwards, right? But
They look great on you.
thank you, thank you. I mean, Shug Avery is stylish and fashionable and again ahead of her time. And also it kind of shows her refusal to stay where she was born and this idea of what a Black woman during that time should be like. So that's, I think her expressing herself through her fashion says a lot about her as a person, but also showing how talented Seeley is also. So I think I enjoy wearing it. It makes me feel good. I think it helps me get into the character a little bit more. Yeah, that's what I can say about the
When
costume.
you had it on, you looked about 10 feet tall.
Right? And I'm not. I'm about 5'4", and I feel like the costumes like give me extra
It really
length.
I love it. I love it. James and then Judith.
Lou Nazaway just asked, what are your dream roles after Shug?
What are the dream roles?
I've always wanted to be in Moulin Rouge, Satine. And then other than that, I really want to be a part of new work. I really, really enjoy being in the room with creatives when things are changing and decisions are made abruptly, or with folks who are allowing me to say, hey, Danielle, what do you think about this? I think at this point in my career, that's really exciting to me, or just even the thought of I would be doing a role for the first time is definitely something that I would love to do, but I also have Moulin Rouge at the top of my list. And I've done Dreamgirls a couple of times, but not at the caliber and the level with the costumes and all of the things. So I'm hoping to do Dreamgirls again at a theater like this, playing Dina or Laurel, but I would love to play Dina again.
Love it. Judith.
This has to do with you having grown up in this area. I know that Frenchie and Nova have known each other for like 25 years.
Yes.
Did you know any of the people in the cast before coming in?
So did you know any cast members before jumping into this project?
No, not at all. I have a great respect for Frenchie Davis. You know, I saw her through the years, her career, watching her on TV and just knowing her backstory a bit. But I didn't know anybody, and I didn't even really have friends of friends until Instagram. You can start to see who you have in common with everyone, but no. And I was nervous because I was leaving one show and coming to this, and I wanted to be received. And I kind of knew that Signature Theater is a family, and a lot of folks in the cast do some of the same shows. But the minute I walked in, you know, they just made me feel like a huge part of the family. And I do feel like I've known Nova for so long, so it's very easy to fall in love with her, you know, every day doing the show, and to have empathy for her and understand her character more, just because I understand her more as a human being off stage as well. And Nova is a gem, a talent. We're really blessed to experience her. I feel that way every day, getting to do the scenes with her as well.
That's great. James.
What is your favorite song to sing in the show?
The Color Purple, the first time that I sing it to Seeley, for me, it reminds me of like a testimony, you know, just saying all that I've been through. God, I see you, I thank you. And it is, you know, I believe in general that it is my job to live my life in a way that is a ministry, you know, to other people. I don't have to preach to other people, but the way that folks see me live my life can be a testament. And I feel like that is what Shug is doing. Like, I may have done all these things. People may say all these crazy things about me, but I believe in God, and I want you to too. And I believe in you, and there's God in you, you know? And so that song is great. And then when we get to come back and sing it again, I'm so proud. It's almost like I'm proud of Seeley realizing and recognizing the God within herself and how beautiful she is, and that everything everything that she needs to be, wants to do, is already within her. And so it's just a good arc for my character as well.
That brings up something that was interesting for me watching this production. I've seen 2 or 3 other productions of the show before this one, and by comparison, the other productions have all been much bleaker, heavier in contrast. What is the hope in this show, and how have you all found it? It really stuck out to me that it wasn't like the color purple in the way the other productions I've seen have been. Can you talk to me about the hope in this show?
I mean, I think that is, I'm gonna say this right. Black folks, we have endured so much, and yet that truly what you all are seeing on stage is a testament to who and what we are. Like, you know, I just know growing up, going to Black funerals, going to funerals in general, just like, we're sad, we're crying, but we're laughing, we're in the backyard, we're telling stories, you know? And so there's a sense of resilience and perseverance that is true to our culture. And I think you're seeing that on the stage, that we can still laugh, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that makes it a little crazy or not, I don't know,
love it.
but it's so much beauty in that. And it's the truth. I think that's also what you're seeing. And I'm not saying that other productions weren't telling the truth, but we really work hard at like taking a moment to really tap in and lock into what that means for us specifically, not trying to be anybody else. Like, I don't know if it's not trying to be any other Celie that she's seen. Frenchie is not trying to be any other Sophia, or the list can go on for Harpo and everybody else. Are literally bringing up parts of ourselves to it and doing the work and the research as well. Like, what was it like in that time for queer Black women in the 20s? Like, we couldn't be caught, you know, dead about to kiss each other. You know, that's why you see some of the tentativeness in that scene, because like, why would we, somebody could walk in, somebody could see us. So it's just also knowing and understanding what year we're in, what is happening in the news during the 1920s or the 1900s when the show first starts as well. So I think that's some of it.
I'm going to ask one more question, then I'll come to you. So that brings up something else interesting to me. I remember somebody else saying once, they were like, I feel like in the world of musical theater for Black people, there is slavery, and then there's civil rights, and then the years in between don't exist.
Yeah.
You've tapped into this a little bit. It sounds like you all done the research. What have you learned about this in-between time as you've been working on this? What do you think we all should be knowing as we watch this production?
That it's just real, you know, that these are real things that happen. There's thousands of Black women like Celie who experienced that, you know, direct descendants of slavery, then sharecroppers, you know, and that some of those things are still happening now in specific areas in America. So just understanding the plight of Black people, but specifically Black women, you know, and the things and the weight. Celie at 14 years old was taking care of children. You know, she didn't have the privilege of being able to go outside and just have a good time. She literally tells Nettie, like, I'm just gonna take care of you. You know, I feel like that's my job, you know? And so I think for myself, just as a young Black woman living in this day and time, I don't wanna take for granted the privilege that I have to have a choice. I have a lot of choices, you know, as a Black woman right now, to get up and decide I want to wear this dress. I want to do my hair in this way. I don't want to go to that event. I don't want this person to come. Those are choices that a lot of my ancestors did not have. And I just think that's really important for everyone to understand, you know, and then when you're watching and you're seeing that, you're literally seeing a story that is still happening, but that has happened to millions of Black women, you know, during slavery. And it's tough.
It is.
Know? It's really tough to digest that those are real things. Sometimes it feels fake. The more and more I even learn, you know, more things daily. Taylor was just telling me this. So who was the person you were telling me the story about? The musical you just did, Henry Box Brown. How he shipped himself to freedom. That's a story I never even heard about, and she just finished doing a musical about that in New York City. And so as I learn about it, I'm always humbled at learning the things that we have done to get to be free. So I don't want to ever take that for granted, that I get to be free. Even with the other things that we're still fighting for, I still have a choice, and I have a job to do, you know, in terms of educating, in terms of just hopefully shedding light and being the light that I also want to see, you know, in this world.
That's great. I read online, I was doing my research for this interview with you, and I found a bio of you on a website. And the last paragraph said something like that you seek to dismantle systems that have led to the dehumanization of Black people in America. and it does feel like this show is part of that work. It's really great.
Thank
It's
you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate being here. I've only ever seen the movie and the play once. The play was a little depressing, so I didn't think I wanted to see it again. I didn't see anything with Melva in it, so I appreciate your. I'm a long time fan of her, so I think no matter what she's in, will be great, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday for the first time.
Thank you.
To do that, and then I also wanted to have a question for time.
Okay.
I'm one of those people too that just knows slavery in 1864, 19, what happened in between. And so I love plays that give an education to a historical education.
I think you're really going to enjoy it. I'm excited to have you in the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for our friends at home, he just shared how excited he is to see this, in spite of the fact that he found the movie and the book a little depressing. He's a big Nova fan, and
I am too.
yeah, we all are. And he's excited to learn about this in-between time that we were talking about. Great, thank you. James?
Someone says they love your glasses.
Thank you.
Your contacts on stage.
Do you,
Ooh, put my business out there.
secrets?
I'll be honest. No, I do not wear contacts. I have a really hard time with them, but I do have a LASIK appointment set up, and I'm excited about that. And I think it's going to be really monumental for me, and I think I'm going to be very emotional when I blink, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't have to put these glasses on. But glasses are also a huge part of my life and my style, so I'm probably going to always put on a glass.
Barbara, and then back to James.
I have a question, but since you just mentioned your LASIK thing. This is really not my question, but are you going to have that surgery while you're doing Color Purple?
No.
And also, have you thought about maybe going into one of the road companies of Hamilton?
Okay, so the first question was, are you going to get LASIK during the run of the show? And she said no. But the second question is, have you looked into touring with a show like Hamilton? I know you've toured a bunch of shows, actually, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've toured with Les Miserables and Beautiful, the Carole King musical. I toured for about 2.5 years total with those. I'd be open to it. I've auditioned for Hamilton before. Had lots of auditions, lots of callbacks for it. So I just have to believe that if it's meant for me to be in one of those productions, that I will. Great story, looks like a lot of fun. So yeah, I would be open to it for sure.
Do you like touring?
I did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was mid-20s, and yeah, it was fun, but it's very taxing, especially when you're doing 1 weekers. So if you do 1 week in a city, there's 8 shows, and your one day off is Monday, is also your travel day.
Oh.
So it's just really exhausting, and there's no real break. I definitely have been able to see all of the United States of America, so that's a blessing, and I'm happy about that. But I just don't know right now if that would be for me, but I would never say never, and I'm open to different opportunities, especially if it was like a lead role in something that's different. I understudied when I was with Les Mis, and then I had a featured ensemble part in Carole King musical. So, perhaps things would be different if there was, a lead role that I could go and get to share that with the world. Yeah.
That's
Have
great.
any of your tours, I have to add on here.
Okay.
Have any of your tours ever brought you through here before?
Have you toured to DC?
Yes, I was on as Eponine here at the National Theater in DC, as well as the Carole King musical. I was just joining the cast when they were here at the National Theater as well. So I didn't get an opportunity to perform here. But yes, the National Theater with Les Miserables.
It's great.
Which was a beautiful experience, especially get to go on as a lead, and all my family was able to come. It was on my birthday,
Oh.
so it was a thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
James.
Someone asked, what do you hope young Black girls take away from your career performances?
Great.
That I was myself. I hope that young Black girls will be able to see that I've always been authentic to who I am, and that I was able to speak up when I felt like my back was against the wall, or that someone was trying to dim my light. Because I think that's just important, and no matter what roles you get asked to be a part of, or that you audition for, that you get offered, if you're true to yourself, you'll never fully go astray. So I would love for them to see that in me, and to also know that as much as this is life and as much as we want to live our dreams, this is not the end all to be all. And that we have to work on ourselves, and find peace within, because life is going to always life. Life is going to always do crazy things and make us doubt ourselves. But if we can find a center and a foundation of peace and hope and faith, that we'll never fully go too far away from that. So that is my hope. And I'd find ways to continue to do that through my, work on stage, but also off stage as well.
Yeah, and I know that you have an interest in helping young rising artists. Can you talk a little bit about that and why that matters to you, what that work has been for you?
Well, it's very expensive to have voice lessons, acting lessons, get headshots, print out your resume, go to dance classes. I mean, that's thousands and thousands of dollars. So to have someone at a young age invest in you is a privilege, and especially for a lot of young Black kids, And I'm grateful that I've had a praying mom and a praying godmother who never said no, who always figured it out. And I don't know what sacrifices that they have made to put me here, but I know that it's because of those people who really cared about me and my journey and my dreams. So again, when I talk about options, that is truly a privilege. And so I started teaching voice lessons, to children that couldn't afford, voice lessons, to just give them the idea of knowing, like, this is out there. There's another world out there where you can express and explore your voice in church, but outside of church as well. And so that was something that I would really like to get more into that as well, but also just creating resources so that folks know these are voice instructors or dance classes that they can go to. So I would love to get something together especially for North Carolina, where I can put together a bunch of amazing friends. Like my friend Taylor's a dancer and a singer and an actress, like having her come in and do a master class, or someone like Nova who teaches voice already, just allowing them to see that there are people that look just like us who have found their way. And if you don't know it, then you can never do it. So I think it's important that we make ourselves visible.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Yes, please.
Wonderful job last night. I'm still floored. I saw Color Purple for the first time here at Signature Theater last night. And off of what you just said, Mahatma Gandhi says that the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And I feel like you're walking that path.
Thank you.
So it's amazing what you do. My question is a little funny. Have you ever had to cry on call on stage? And did you have trouble when you had to do that? Like just popping that tear out?
All right, so our friend in the back, I saw the show last night, loved it, loved her performance, and wants to know if you have ever had to cry on stage, cry on command, and what that's like.
No, I've never had to cry on command. I'm grateful that I've never had a director that has said, like, yeah, just cry, because I would be like, oh, if it's not real, then I shouldn't be doing it. With this show, the waterworks just happens. We start Act 2, and you look over, and someone has already started, and we're in the same boat as you all in the audience, because I can hear the sniffles, and I can see people pulling tissues out of their purse, and we are, managing our way through our emotions as well. So no, I've not experienced that. I thought about that before, like, what if I'm doing a TV scene and I need to cry? Like, what would I need to think about or do? So let me start practicing, just in case. And thank you for your compliment. I'm so glad you were able to see the show last night.
James?
Someone asked, do you prefer musicals over straight plays?
Yes, I do prefer musicals over straight plays. I think it's the perfect blend of acting and singing. And I really enjoy it because I love singing so much. It brings me a lot of joy, and I think people watching other good singers brings them joy as well. But I've also never really been in straight plays either, so I'd be open to it, but I would always, if there could be a quick little moment, a little hum that I could do in the straight play, I would love that too.
That's great. Any other questions? Oh, another one from online.
The show, this person was asking, is it the same as the Broadway production, or were there any changes or adaptations for Signature?
This is the same. So there was the original Broadway that I think is 05. I want to say, I could be wrong. And then there's the revival where Cynthia Erivo and Heather Headley And so we're doing that, the revival production of it. And there's no changes. I mean, blocking is different, our own lighting ideas and costumes. But overall, we're telling the same story that was written in, was it 2015 that the revival came out?
14 or 15,
14,
yeah.
15 that the revival came out, yeah.
That's great. James, again.
One more.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted to know if we were going to record this show.
The answer to that question is no. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I wish.
Yeah. I love it. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Somewhat follow up to Broadway shows. I noticed in the smaller theaters like here in Arena Stage, so few props. How does having so few props allow you to engage in the roles when you don't have furniture pieces or things that we actually experience? Believe it or not, I'm just surprised how much we can visualize with so few props. How does that?
That's a good question. So the question was, this production and several others at regional theaters, they're done pretty minimally, so few props. I feel like half of the show, there's just one chair on stage.
Yeah,
So
chair, a flower, and the phone.
Yeah. So how do you
A funny
manage?
story, Nova and I had to figure out how to make it work, because I've done the rotary phones,
Yeah.
but I've never, what is that called? I don't even know what it's
I
called.
don't even know.
What'd you say? Receiver. Yes, the receiver. So lots of funny moments with that exchange. But it simplifies it. It forces us again to be rooted in the truth. Because if you have this, bottle of water the whole time, you're just like focusing on that and what do I do next with it? And you're not really fully focused on your scene partner and telling them what it is that you need to tell. What is the motive of it? And so I think with Signature in general, but specifically with Timothy, I think for him, if it doesn't make sense, why do we need to have it? And I think artistically, it's really beautiful because, again, you're able to visualize all of these things that you don't need the set piece. You didn't need to see the inside of the kitchen of the house, like all of that, those things that you as a viewer can internalize, and that gives a different story for everyone because everyone leaves receiving and taking something differently from The Color Purple. But for me, it just simplifies the show and allows us to focus on why am I coming on stage to tell Celie that God is inside you and everyone else? I don't need a bunch of things. I don't need a purse. I don't need all of these things to just look at her and tell her that this is what I believe, and I need you to know this, So
That's great. What is The Color Purple teaching you? What are you learning from doing this show?
I am learning patience and grace. I think as a performer, I have tried really hard to be perfect. And that doesn't exist. Yes, practicing, yes, making sure that you are your best self, but also being my best self isn't always just practicing. It is, again, like finding who I am on the inside. And so, yeah, being gracious to myself when I don't think I did my best, but also having patience and trusting the process that it doesn't have to be perfect. And I might not get to what I think is my best show until the last show, even though you all are receiving it a different way. Whatever critique that I have for myself, it's okay to have that, but again, be patient and be graceful. And then also to extend that same grace and patience to my loved ones as well. And how can I find more ways to be more gracious and be more patient and show up for the people that have been showing up for me for a long time as well.
That's great. Thank you. So show's been open for like a week now. What are you doing all day before the show? Are you exploring DC? Or are you just hanging at home? How do you spend the time now?
Well, last week was the opening. I have been resting. I've been catching up on some sleep, but I do plan on, having lunch dates with family members, going. I've seen the African American Museum, but I kind of rushed through it the last time. I love to paddle boat, in DC. So just different things like that, exploring. There's the library downstairs. I really want to take advantage of that and read some more and just enjoy life, explore and experience more things that I can add to more shows that I will hopefully be a part of, after The Color Purple.
That's great. Thank you. Any questions from you? Barbara?
Are you going to see any other shows, like when could you?
Yeah.
Can you fit any other shows in around town?
I don't know if you can.
Potentially, I know Hamilton is here. I have a few friends in that production, so maybe they have Wednesday matinees, so maybe I could go see it. But other than that, we don't have time to see anything else. But I do have a few shows on my list when I go back to New York that I'd love, to see before they close.
Yeah.
So
What are
hopefully.
they? Can I ask?
Yeah, Into the Woods and Hadestown. I think that's
those are
it for right
the
now,
big
but it
ones.
might be I'm just missing things right now. But there's always something new off Broadway, all the things. And I have several friends that are in shows that I want to support because they have always supported me as well. So.
James, and then here. Yes.
Somebody was asking, were the original rehearsals, were these rehearsals about the musical as written, or did you use the original source material, like Alice Walker's novel? Like, how much did you pull from that?
You said you read the book before. Did you go back to it?
I
or-
didn't,
Yeah.
but Timothy did often. As we would ask questions, he would always, sometimes some of the ad libs that we would do, he would say those are not period, they're not in the time period, but also the book is telling the story through Ceely's eyes. So if Ceely wouldn't see it this way, then I don't want you to say it this way. And that is because, he read the books so many times and he reread it before directing us in this production. So it was a little bit of a mix of both, but I can't say that I was going back and forth between the script score and the book or anything like that, yeah.
Please. No? Okay. Okay. Yes, please.
I know that you're perfect for Shug. That role is you. But if you couldn't play Shug, what other role would you play?
So if you weren't Shug, who would you be in this show if you could pick?
I think Squeak would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Squeak would be fun, but also Nettie. I've auditioned for Nettie for other productions, but never played that role before. But Squeak would be fun. It would be fun and also character-y. And I love the way Timmy Dio plays the part.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it might be Squeak.
You said earlier that your favorite.
Or a church lady.
Oh yes, yes.
Who the daddy, who the daddy, who the daddy, who the daddy. That's fun, yeah.
That's really fun. You said earlier that you love, your favorite part of the show to do was singing Color Purple. Are there favorite parts in terms of getting to hear or see other people doing stuff up on that stage?
Well, I'm changing while Nova is singing I'm Here, but there's a TV and monitor in my dressing room, and I'm just always floored and wowed, and that she does it 8 times a week, and she does it rooted in truth and all of that. I also love Any Little Thing that Harpo and Sophia sing. And there's just so many ways people say things, that everyone has their own type of Southern accent that they're bringing to the table from their own experiences or just researching. So there's just some lines that every once in a while will make me giggle, from hearing somebody say in the show. But yeah, those are my favorite parts.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Any other questions? We're going to be wrapping up in the next minute or two. Last chances? Nope. Please, go for it. You remember your question.
It's not that it's a question, but you said Hadestown, and you mentioned National Theater, so I'm subscribed to National Theater. It'll be here next.
Okay.
Oh,
so-
nice. Okay. Maybe I can see a Wednesday show or something.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me know.
So our folks at home, look out for Hadestown coming to the National. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. It all
There's room for all of us.
Lift and rising boats and all that stuff. Good. You mentioned earlier dream roles. What have been the favorite roles that you have played so far?
I loved, I got to go on for Eponine for 4 months while they were searching for a new one. So as far as I'm concerned, I played Eponine for 4 months. But I loved that. I loved that show, playing that role, touring and doing that show in particular. Playing Dina, even though it wasn't, that dream of a production, it was still, Dreamgirls is also very iconic. And then I did Memphis the musical with Taylor, my friend Taylor. I keep calling her out because I love her so much. But we did Memphis in Fort Collins, Colorado, and that was just a beautiful experience also.
Yeah.
And a message that, I don't know how many people have seen Memphis the musical, but it's a beautiful message as well within that story.
That's great. I love it.
Oh, I just thought of something.
Barbara, please.
Memphis has not been done at Signature.
Ooh.
It should be done at Signature. Anybody listening?
Anybody listening?
So for our folks watching at home, if you have any sway, Barbara Bear would like to see Memphis done on our stage.
We have a star.
Yeah, we do have a.
I would love to play Felicia Farrell here at Signature
Yeah,
Theater.
that'd be great. I love
Your
it.
lips to God's ears.
So we started off today by talking about how you've been doing the musical thing for a long time, how the music bug bit you at an early age. What does being an actor give you? How does it feed you? What do you get from doing this that you can't find anywhere else?
Joy. Yeah, I think for so long I focused on, again, like I said, being perfect and doing things the right way. But then also just reminding myself that it's fun and that it's okay, that it doesn't have to be all these big words and these things that it does, but I just enjoy it and I have a good time coming. Even the days where I don't feel like getting out of the bed, once I get here and I get backstage, I feel full. I feel exhilarated and I'm excited to go and do this work, and especially when you're doing work with these amazing artists who are at amazing levels of talented. So that's what it is, it's fun. And I'm just reminding myself that now, like the inner child in Danielle, you're allowed to have fun. Yes, you should work hard and there's a lot of goals to be accomplished, but it's okay for something to just be fun. And I think for me now, it just realizing that I just love to perform and it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good.
And it feels good for all of us to watch you perform. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you for having me.
Yeah. We'll see you all next month with Ethan Lipton and Ian Riggs. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.